Stage 3 would see the Absa Cape Epic race village move from the coast into the Elgin plateau. With 100 kilometers on the cars, the teams warmed up with eager intent. Before departing the beautiful Hermanus, there was an opportunity to reflect on the natural wonders which provide the battleground for stages 1 and 2, and those that lay just beyond the route too. With one last look over Walker Bay, it was off to Oak Valley and Apple Country. One of the most frequent host villages of the Absa Cape Epic, Oak Valley Estate is home to orchards, vineyards, cultivated protea felt, and of course mountain bike trails. The vast fields seem almost purpose-built for hosting mass participation sports events, providing ample lawns for setting up the races, tents, marquees and Bedouins. The farm also provides access to some of South Africa's best single tracks on neighbouring farms like Paul Kluwer Wine Estate or in Department of Agricultural land. The Oak Valley Race Village also offers a view across the orchards and foothills of the Hottentots Holland Mountains to the race's most infamous climb, Groenlandberg. But the Green Mountain will only make an appearance later in the race. Worryingly for those who had struggled already, the longest ascent was still to come. But the prologue and opening 2 marathon stages had proved tough enough to force significant time splits. Stage 2 had started benignly enough, but when the climbing began in the Paardenberg, it split up. Nino Schurter reported that the buck which nearly charged into him was not the only wildlife he saw. The 10-time world champion avoided disaster while Bart Alleman lost time with a puncture. His partner Fabian Rabenstein had jumped ahead and helped his Belgian teammate change the flat wheel. Willie Pirelli factory never made it back to the group, which also shed Obia Leert Speed Company with 10 kilometers to race when Georg Egger got bogged down in the sand. This left Toyota Specialized 91 and Scott Schramm to contest stage honours. Matt Beers went on a flyer and Chris Blevins outfoxed Schurter to secure victory on the day. Schurter and André Frischnecht rode home second and extended their overall lead. In the CM.com UCI women's race, the E4.net Seattle Coffee Co. combination showed no sign of weakness after Amy Wakefield's hospital visits the night before. Despite stitches in her arm, she and Candice Hill looked comfortable throughout the stage. The women in orange were happy to let their rivals make the racing on stage 2, however, as they attempted to conserve energy. This meant the efficient Infinity Insure team were able to take the race to 91 Songo Specialized, which they did in the Stanford single tracks. They didn't want to force a gap too early, however, with a flat run back into Hermanus. Rather, Losse and Lecourt saved their matches for an attack in the finale. A punch from the Namibian champion was followed by a counterpunch by the Mauritian, which left Sofia Gomez-Viafan and Katharina Nash momentarily stunned. The 91 Songo Specialized team were unable to close the gap, while Wakefield and Lille sat on, unwilling to assist. This allowed Losse and Lecourt to race to their maiden Absa Cape Epic stage victories. E4.net Seattle Coffee Co. retained the CM.com orange jerseys by finishing third. Ahead of Stage 3, this was the general classification situation, with Scotsram MTB and E4.net Seattle Coffee Co. holding the leads in the 2 respective UCI category races. The race's first transition stage took teams from Hermanus to Oak Valley. It featured 2,300 meters of climbing over the 100-kilometer course. Ascents like Rotary Drive, Bosman, Katpas and Tiefkop provided much of the accumulated ascent, but it was the final short kicker which proved most decisive. Single tracks like the Carvedeskraal Contour, Wildekrans Trails and the famous tracks built by the Cape Trails team in Elgin provided thrills between the challengers. For the UCI men, those challenges loomed large. They knew trail tactics would play their part, along with strength and freshness when approaching the 3rd long stage in a row.
Today will be again a long stage, but a little bit more, or like a lot more climbing than yesterday, so I think for us it will be better. Yesterday we suffered a bit in the flat, and then we also had a mechanical, so we lost quite some time yesterday, but still we are feeling quite good, so I think we can try to maybe not gain time, but we try to stay with the first ones again today.
Yeah, so today it's quite like selective in the end, so we try to stay a bit in the back of the field, or like in the back, not leading all the time in the first few hours, to save some energy for the last couple of kilometers. So yeah, we try to attack in the end, and let's see if it works.
Leaving Hermanus for the final time in the 2023 Absa Cape Epic, the men turned west again, tracing the same early kilometres as they had done on stage 2. Following a brief neutral zone, the field stretched into a single track along the road before ballooning as teams jostled for position on the climb-up rotary drive. A good spot in the group would make it easier to follow moves later. For the CM.com UCI women, more trails meant more opportunities to attack. Katharina Nash, in particular, was looking forward to less district road and more single track.
I think the climbing might be a little bit more technical, which is much better for me. Every time it's technical up or down is good for me. If it's just pedaling, it's not that good. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's a long day. Lots can happen, and we continue to fine-tune our team and our communication and riding style, and yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, today is another long day out there. I think keeping it conservative might not be a bad idea, because tomorrow is a hard day with the time trial. But yeah, we'll see how the racing unfolds, and let's see.
Rolling off the start line and out of the gate of Hermanus High School for the last time, the CM.com UCI women were bound for Oak Valley. The initial neutral zone and lead into the rotary drive climb was ridden at a steady tempo. There would be time aplenty for savage attacks and gaining time on rivals later in the day. Easing into the challenge was the wiser option, especially with another 100-kilometre course to complete. The early kilometres of the UCI men's race were ridden at a much higher pace, but the group remained larger until the trails forced it down to size. The climb-up rotary drive is not quite tough enough to splinter a group of elite mountain bikers, though it certainly hurts and forces riders into the red. Slimmed down by the single track, the field snaked their way from the Klein River mountain ridgeline into the fertile Hermanus Valley, retracing familiar trails briefly from stage 1. But with single tracks so good, there's no reason not to ride them twice. From the valley floor, the only way was uphill, which for a stretched field meant splits and groups. Only the strongest were able to stay at the sharp end after climbing to the rolling Overberg roads. On the Carvaderskraal gravel road, an elite front group formed. The men in yellow, Scots Ram, were present and accounted for, as were Toyota Specialized 91, Orbea Liet Speed Company, Willia Pirelli Factory and Piga Eurosteel. A second group on the road contained the team who had started the day in fourth, Canyon Northwave. After losing time on stage 2, Andrea Seewald and Martin Stosek were at risk of doing so again. In the Wildekrans trails, Bart Alleman was yo-yoing on and off the group. The Willia Pirelli Factory team eventually lost contact with the group when Alleman's teammate Fabian Ravensteiner dropped back to support his ailing partner. They remained ahead of Canyon Northwave though. Chasing through Wildekrans, Seewald and Stosek were in a group with Baf Megamo and Canada Vas Arabe. Following their strong start to stage 2, Philip Bass and Alex Miller, Piga Eurosteel, were mixing it at the sharp end with the top teams. In fact, they looked remarkably comfortable until Miller crashed in the Wildekrans trails. The Namibian did not hit the deck overly hard, but it was a sign that he was pushing his limits. That being said, he and Bass rejoined the group as they were not going flat out quite yet. Passing through the halfway point in the stage at Wildekrans Wines, they held a 50-second lead on Willia Pirelli Factory, with the chase group a further 20 seconds back. The climb-up rotary drive didn't split the CM.com UCI women's race as it had failed to do in the men's race. The tar provided a welcome opportunity for the women's teams to find their legs after 3 tough days of racing. Though the respite was short-lived, soon the course headed off-road and downhill, dropping into the Himelanada Valley for a final time. The sweeping single tracks through the Fynbos provided the best descenders with the opportunity to stretch the field without having to expend too much energy. With the gap established, the eFort.net Seattle Coffee Co. 91 Songo Specialized and Efficient Infinity Insure teams rode a steady tempo on the Carvedes-Kraal gravel road. There was no need to force the pace, but they were also wary that slowing too much would allow more teams to rejoin the lead group. There was safety in a lack of numbers heading to a long trail-filled section of the route. The sandy, dual and single tracks which followed justified that decision. And once out onto the hard-packed trails of Wildekrans, the pace automatically increased once more. Candice Lill's presence at the front of the group also helped increase the tempo. The South African champion seized control and upped the pace. Amy Wakefield followed with ease, showing no ill effects of her unfortunate Stage 1 mishap. Sophia Gomez-Viafan and Katharina Nash matched the eFort.net Seattle Coffee Co pair, with a Czech rider enjoying the trails more than she had done the open roads. Behind, Vera Losse and Kim LeCourt were showing signs of strain, though they too managed to reach the halfway mark in the stage within the leading group. USN Hydro Station at Wildekrans Wine Estate marked the point at which the climbing recommenced. As such, the riders who had started with hydration packs on discarded them rather than refilling them. With each litre of water equating to a kilogram the riders have to carry, taking 500 millilitre bottles rather than a 2 litre hydration bladder in a pack reduces weight for the climbs. On the dual-track ascent into the Elgin Plateau, the leading UCI men's group slowed almost imperceptibly. But this slowing allowed the Toyota Specialized 91, Scott SRAM, Obia Lit Speed Company and Page Eurostel teams to refresh themselves slightly for the steeper pitches which lay ahead. The slowing also allowed the chasing group, which by that stage had swallowed Willia Pirelli factory, to get the leaders in their sights. The chasing quartet caught the leading 4 teams near the summit of the pass, just in time to refuel at the penultimate water point. The size of the group made the Hohook water point a scene of moderate chaos. Nino Schurter was caught out in the switching of lines and abrupt braking. The Swiss star hit the deck briefly, but bounced back up with a renewed vigor. As if stung by the realization that the group was too large, the Scott SRAM man forced a split at the next opportunity. Under his, Lucas Baum and Georg Egger's impetus, an elite selection reformed. Only Toyota Specialized 91 and Willia Pirelli factory could join André Frischknecht in following the aggressors up the Tierkop climb. In the single tracks that followed, a fast pace was maintained, but everyone appeared to be keeping their matches dry for a final showdown in the last kicker of the day. Everyone, that is, except for Frischknecht, who clearly had no more matches left to burn. For him, it was survival time. When the road ramped up again, Baum and Egger accelerated. Frischknecht faltered, but dug deep to limit his losses. Then Beers and Blevins struck. What their rivals had not realized was that the sprint to the final single track was in effect a sprint for stage honours. Beers led into the trail with Blevins on his wheel. Behind, Scott SRAM rode to get back to the group, while Fabian Ravenstein and Wout Alleman were boxed out by Baum and Egger. The Toyota Specialized 91 team worked their advantage to perfection. Obia Lit Speed Company was second, Ravenstein and Alleman third, and the Scott SRAM team finished fourth. Baum in particular did not appreciate the winner's tactics.
I felt good in the last part of the race and tried to keep the pace high to maybe create a gap, but the other ones could barely follow, but still kept on our rear wheel. And then in the last trail, Specialized used the tactic of sending the slower one in front and the faster one in the sprint. Basically, slowed down the pace so much that a gap between them was created. And Blevins is almost impossible to beat in the sprint as a sprint world champion. So I don't like that style of racing. I'd rather be beaten in the upper section or in the fast sprint, but not getting slowed down.
It was we had to dig deep for that one, and To be honest, I didn't think we had the legs for it. I didn't think I had the legs for it. And then Matt actually punctured, had a slow leak, and right at the end before those last kicks, I thought, all right, let's just hold on to it. If we have to stop and CO2 it, I'll have it ready. But then we dug, perfect timing to get into the single track first. I let Matt go and then kind of let him get a bit of a gap to nurse those corners and then sprint back up to him. So it was tight, but we pulled it off.
Yeah. It was really hard, especially for me. I suffered from the beginning. But then I told to Fabian that we had to go our own pace, so we dropped. But then somehow we managed to come back, and I felt better and better. So I was really happy that we came together with the first ones and that we can go also on the podium. So we are really happy.
For the second day in a row and for the third time in the race, Matt Beers and Chris Blevins stood atop the stage podium. Nino Schurter and Andre Frischneck pulled their yellow Cheervita jerseys on for the third time since seizing them on stage 1. The winning time for the 100km stage was 4 hours, 7 minutes and 11 seconds. After 4 days of racing, Scotsram's general classification lead was 3 minutes and 12.9 seconds. The stage's biggest winners were the Italian friends Samuele Porro and Vincenzo Nibali, who moved up to 6th. Dipping under the National Highway, the CM.com UCI women entered into the Beaumont Wine Estate Trails. The kicks from the USN Hydration Point to the next section of trails had shaken Efficient Infinity Insure off the leading women's group. But Vera Larson and Kim Lecourt had Sofia Gomez-Villafan, Katharina Nash, Amy Wakefield and Candice Lill in their sights. A strong effort by the women in the red Absa African jerseys, which had held on behalf of the women in orange, saw them battle their way back to parity with the leaders. But they did so just in time to face the next test. The single track ascent from Bot River through JK switchbacks towards the cut bus. The trails pointing uphill again killed off Lossa and Lecourt's challenge for the day. Slipping inexorably further off the pace, they had to watch as the E4.net Seattle Coffee Co. 91 Songo Specialized teams rode gradually away. With that, the battle for stage honours was down to 2 teams. But Lill and Wakefield were clearly the stronger combination. Gomez-Villafan was nursing, cajoling, pushing and dragging Nash to remain in contention. The Argentine knew her title defence hung in the balance. If they continued to ship time to E4.net Seattle Coffee Co., only misfortune for the South Africans could prevent them from defeating 91 Songo Specialized. After losing touch and battling back, the race's first orange jersey wearers lost contact for good inside the final 20 kilometres. From there on out, the ride was one of damage limitation. Ahead, Lill was pulling Wakefield to a second stage victory. Exiting the last single track and rounding the final bend into the finish straight, they celebrated a hard-fought and well-earned win. The battle lost, but the war still there to fight. 91 Songo Specialized finished second.
Over the finish line now, Max, welcome. Your second on the stage is Sofia Gomez.
Lill and Wakefield's victory on the day was their second of the race. They returned to the top step moments later to claim their third set of fresh CM.com orange Cheervita jerseys. E4.net Seattle Coffee Co.'s winning time was 4 hours, 59 minutes and 42 seconds. In the general classification behind the top 3, a to-and-fro battle was playing out between the Canada Bas Arabe and 8 capital teams. Valley Electrical, She Untamed and Best of Performance were locked in a 3-way tussle for 6th.
Yeah, we had a good day. I just couldn't hang on the uphills on the second half, and congrats to the South African ladies. They put in a major effort there and rode away, so congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's around 8 minutes now, but I mean, I've been in positions where I've been 10 minutes back and we've chased back, so this race is really, you can't get complacent. You have to just race every day and take each moment as it comes.
One of cycling superstars, Vincenzo Nibali, may have retired from the World Tour peloton on the road, but the Shark of Messina, as he's known, has not hung up his bike entirely. Swapping slicks for knobblies, he made his Absa Cape Epic debut alongside Samuele Porro at the prologue. Since then, the Italians have notched up 4 top 10 finishes and find themselves in 6th on the general classification. Clearly, the 4-time Grand Tour winner's famed bike handling skills have translated well to the mountain bike. In the battle with the former roadies, Nibali now has a 27-minute advantage over Lachlan Morton, who himself is partnered by an elite mountain biker, Keegan Swenson. South Africa's Jaco Venter, who made the switch to mountain biking a few years ago, is also among the former roadies taking on the race, though he and his partner Christian Janssen van Rensburg are taking a significantly more relaxed approach to this edition. For the Shark, there can be no taking it easy. 5th place is not out of the question, as only 3 minutes separate Nibali and Porro from Andreas Seewald and Martin Stosek, who currently hold that spot. It's all to play for in the second half of the week then. And the second half of the week begins with a mid-race time trial. Stage 4 is a 47-kilometre TT. The punchy stage features 875 metres of climbing with short but testing ascents up to the summits of Rietvlei, Bergade and Witklippies. The climbs are rocky and technical in places, while the single-track descents are fast and flowing. Highlights for the speedsters include Puff Adder, Vissy's Magic and Sounds of Silence. The day's victors will take a significant confidence boost into the business end of the race. The result could thus prove pivotal.